Happy Casual Wine Geek Wednesday.
It's Wines Day. Wines Day.
We got
two of my favorite things. Wine and all of you.
We got a little screwy on that.
Well, so we just wrapped up our friends down in South America.
Oh yeah.
And we have scooted across the pond to the island nation of New Zealand.
New Zealand, where the hobbits lived.
Well, were filmed.
Where the hobbits were filmed.
I did try to find some stuff to see if like the Lord of the Rings trilogy had any impact on the wine industry, positively or negatively. And it was mostly just like Hobbit stuff / wine tour.
Oh.
I couldn't really.
Boring.
Yeah.
Anyway. We're in New Zealand.
Yeah, where everything is a screw top this week.
Yeah. Thank God.
We've got a couple
Make it
screws
easy.
loose.
No.
Yes. Yes, we do.
We have a couple of wines to taste through today.
Yeah, Sauv Blanc. I brought a Sauv Blanc and a
Yep.
Pinot Noir from the same producer, Dashwood.
Oh, awesome. And then I have a Pinot Noir from Jules Taylor.
And why do we love Jules Taylor?
Female winemaker.
She's a badass lady winemaker.
Yep.
Dig it.
Dig it.
Dig it. However, before we get to
In the muck.
the wine,
Into the geek.
yeah, if you will,
We got a couple of things.
there's some housekeeping. There's some heart. Sorry, I have to fix my microphone. It's falling over.
Take your time.
There's some housekeeping. There's some general info. I have a bone to pick.
Do you want a bone first or do you want it last?
Oh, girl.
First of all, we want to say thank you for listening to all of our people and subscribing to this podcast all over the world. Thank you. We have a listener who is subscribed in New Zealand. This show is for you.
I hope we don't fuck it up.
Yeah. So we got some stats back. We have people who have subscribed from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, the United Kingdom, Sweden, China, Angola.
104 people in Angola.
Listen to this podcast.
Hi, friends.
Hey. Spain, France, Italy, Japan, Canada, and the United States.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where do these numbers come from?
From the hosting site that hosts our podcast. So
everybody who listens, you're all amazing.
Thank you so much for listening.
And we hope that we're not decimating any of the information that you're trying to use.
We know that there's now listening parties. People are getting together with their friends and drinking.
Hey,
and
Florida.
Hey, Florida, Gulfport, Vintage Small Bites and Wine Lounge. Big shout out to you guys for
keeping on.
Yeah, drinking wine.
Not giving up on us.
Listening to us yammer.
What did they say early? Flap our gums about something.
Flapping our gums. Yeah.
Hey,
so,
it's what I do. You're welcome.
Yeah, we just flap our gums and drink wine. It's fine.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, my friend. And cheers to everybody listening.
Cheers.
Do you have 2 bottles? Can you see them? Are they next to you? Is there a gold lame bag?
It's New Zealand this week, bitch. New Zealand.
The land of delicious, cool climate Pinots and delightful Sauvignon Blancs. However, this ravishing lady on my left doesn't love a Sauv Blanc. I think we might have broken her. We've worn her down because
It's taken a year.
Her first sniff of the Sauv Blanc was, "Oh, this doesn't smell like cat pee. I could drink this."
That is true.
I win.
That is true.
And the Dutch take the lead.
Yeah.
Over the Swedes.
Over the Swedes. Yeah. This is very lemongrassy. It's very nice. It's got the pyrazine, like pepper.
Which I really dig in a white wine. But I know it's kind of off-putting to people. But anyway.
Whatever.
Tis what it is.
So we didn't say this last week, but as always, every week, if you love us and you are subscribed and you're like, how can I help these poor kids out doing a podcast? You can always sign up to be a Patreon supporter.
Yeah.
Patreon, Casual Wine Geeks.
At levels, we're going to try to start maybe doing some live things and some
special stuffs.
Maybe we'll be at the World Wine Tasting Competition auditions and maybe there will be a live. We don't know yet.
We're working on it.
It's in
There's
the works.
A teaser last week. Yeah. August 11th.
Yeah. So
stay tuned.
Info's on the website and the Patreon page.
Yep. And so if you want to help support us, if you want to sign up, if you want to whatever you want to do, it's right there on the Patreon page. You can get there through a website, casualwinegeeks.com.
Not edu, not gov, not ca.
Nope. We are the original baby.com. Yep.
I was going to try and make a joke there, but I just lost my train of thought.
Original. Old.
Yeah. The Sauv Blanc is real tasty, eh?
It is pretty good.
So these folks are fun. Dashwood, they're both of these are from Marlborough. Which
okay,
we'll
mine's
get in.
from Marlborough as well.
Oh, awesome. Look at us being
we didn't even talk about it.
Twins? Twinlets?
Twinlets.
I like it.
Yeah.
Girl, I don't know. So I brought a Pinot and a Sauv Blanc from the same producer, who have been making wine in Marlborough for like 20 years, long time. And they're really focused on being caretakers of the land around them. And they essentially strive to minimize, or eliminate any activities that are wasteful or harmful to the environment so that future generations can continue to enjoy the extraordinary landscape, which I think is awesome. I think it's important that people really recognize that, you know, grape growing can, because everything is connected, ecosystems are impacted by things that you don't ever realize.
Yeah.
It's important to realize that what you're doing can affect things elsewhere. Stuff in Washington and Oregon, I don't think California, I could be wrong, places will use a salmon safe certified situation, which means that they've essentially are only doing farmers are only doing like a 1 till rotation when they're tilling the earth so that not too much sediment ends up in the water table to fuck with salmon who are spawning upstream.
Because that's hard anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm not into it. Getting eaten by a grizzly bear? Fuck that.
New Zealand is such an interesting place, and I've heard so many great things about it, and it's on my list of places that I really want to go.
I would love to go there. It just takes for fucking ever.
It takes forever from here. It's the exact same amount of distance away from the equator as Oregon. From the North Pole, New Zealand is halfway between the South Pole and the equator.
Are you sure?
I looked it up before our episode.
Is that a solid fact or a fluid fact?
Well, I read it
because New Zealand is
internet.
A big country.
Yeah, it kind of like swoops down, but where the Pinot is grown and the Pinot in Oregon, it's like the same, only northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere.
Interesting, because I read a thing that, which we can get into facts later, but we're saying essentially that because of where it's positioned on the globe, it's some of the most southerly vineyards in the world.
Oh, I totally believe that. But the distance between the South Pole and where the grapes are grown are about the same distance between the North Pole and Oregon.
Oh, I thought you were saying that Oregon sits the same distance from the equator as the equator sits the same distance from New Zealand.
Yeah, that's the same. They're like right 45th parallel, because Oregon's Pinot Noir is at the 45th parallel, which is exactly between the equator and the North Pole.
I thought it was the 42nd. I've been wrong this whole time.
No, 90 degrees, 180 is a whole circle. So 90 is half.
Oh, it's math. I can't.
No.
Not
You're
right
good
now.
at math.
I
anyway.
am good, but not right now.
So, yeah, it's the 45th parallel.
Right.
Was the Oregon Valley, like right outside of Salem, is the 45th parallel, which is halfway. And then New Zealand also shares that same on the southern hemisphere.
Is on the 45th southern.
Oh. Yeah.
I always thought it was so much farther south. You know why that is because I've been functioning under a misconstrued fucking American-centric map for my entire life.
Yeah, that's
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Greenland is not the same size as Africa. No. Not even a little bit.
That's why you need an actual globe. You need to look, when you're looking at a map, you need to look at a globe. How often do you see globes in houses anymore?
I have a globe in my house.
Well, because you love history and maps and fun things to look at.
Well, and I'm easily amused, so I can just spin it. It's real fun to just spin. Hey.
Greenland is not the same
It's
size
not even a little
Africa.
bit.
No.
And hasn't been for practically ever.
Right.
Well, maybe not ever when we were Pangea and one giant landmass, but
yeah.
Hey.
And New Zealand isn't all, it's not like Thailand where everybody's on the beach in bikinis.
No, it's cold there.
There's cold. Yeah, it's cold.
It's real cold there. Yeah. It's not a tropical destination.
No.
At all.
At all. Yeah. It's way far south.
So, and I knew that it was way far south. I guess I also don't realize, being where we are in Seattle, how far north we actually are.
Yeah, we're real far north. Mm-hmm. It's the same.
I used to live in Puerto Rico. It's warm there all the time.
But I would imagine that like New Zealand is probably the same, like from top to bottom of New Zealand. I would imagine that it's very, very long, like the Pacific coast of North America.
Oh,
right?
probably. I didn't look up any of like the size of the country. I could, but typing and
Meh.
we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're talking about wine.
But we have housekeeping first.
Oh.
See, look at me just getting off
nice.
fucking track.
Hey, I followed you down that trail. I was just like, oh, this looks fun. Let's go down here.
It's okay. It's okay. We have somewhat of a system.
Are you talking about the monsters?
I mean, God bless them.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and God bless my friends who have children.
We're talking about children. Under 21 and under.
I'm going to have a sip of wine first.
What we're going to talk about is an article.
Because I don't want to get angry letters from people.
No, what we're going to talk about is kids in a tap room. Right? There's an article that came out recently.
Yes.
And
Vine Pair, which is this very, very, really awesome kind of booze-centric.
It's well regarded.
Article-based website.
Yep.
The articles I've read are actually, I think, very well written and very well researched.
And thought out, and they have a good copy editor. And
Why? Oh, I got upset with someone earlier.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about it.
Upset.
So, Vine Pair.
So
Kids
there
in a
was an
tap room.
article that I saw a while that I wanted to talk about, and then I got sick, and then vacation, and then other things. Sinus infections, kids, they're no fucking joke. Tell you what.
Don't do it.
So I ran across this article. I think I was just scrolling through Facebook or maybe Twitter. If you don't want kids in your local tap room, you're missing the point.
That's
the title of the article.
Okay.
And I immediately was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, long time.
When you sent me that, my heart stopped.
And all I said to you was like, can we talk about this?
Yeah, that's all you said. I was just like, let's talk about it, because this is, kids in a tap room.
Which I think in this article, and I'll post the link to the article because I think it's important, it's a conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah, it's an interesting article. They make very good points.
They do make very good points, and
Yes.
I might be somewhat dissuaded.
Oh.
I might have changed.
There's an opening.
I will entertain the idea.
Okay. All right. Let's start at the top.
So essentially 411 of this article, like we'll do a quick abbreviated version. This guy grew up in St. Louis, or maybe gal, actually. I don't know who wrote this. Her name is Meredith. She's a lady. Grew up in St. Louis. Maybe it's St. Louis. I don't know. The only Saturday activity they were able to enjoy was a Cardinals game. More than a Cardinals game was a trip to Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, with their kids.
With their kids.
Okay.
And so essentially these places have like dedicated family safe I don't want to say family safe,
kids,
family focused areas, like
things that kids
there's
can
stuff
play
for your
with.
kids to do.
Yeah.
There's stuff for, there's like table games and toys and what the fuck ever.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me wants to say that's really great and awesome, but I'm a grown-up who doesn't want or enjoys children all the time. And I also am a bit of a prude and have a hard time drinking around children. It makes me very uncomfortable. Partially, I think, because my parents didn't drink at all. Like, the only time I ever saw my mom with a beer was when she was using it to marinate a steak. And even then, she'd save 2 sips for her and the rest would go in the marinade. I don't find it wholly appropriate to be drinking around children. However, this person goes on in this article to talk about the 21st century brewery has come to occupy a sort of this is a quote here, a sort of liminal space, a bar but not quite a bar, a communal game room maybe with suds on tap. And from Portland to New York City, families of all shapes and sizes are lapping it up. But why kids don't drink beer, at least not legally? So what motivates alcohol producers to cater to baby-toting demographic? Is there something inherent in beer culture or even beer itself that lends itself to an all ages atmosphere? Pre-prohibition beer gardens provided urban dwellers, especially those of European descent, respite from the daily toils of a crowded tenement life. It was a chance to get out of the apartment, stretch your legs, and share a pint. The beer flowed freely, sure, but it wasn't all about drinking. It was about catching up with Gertrude down the hall, trading German language newspapers, and word from back home. It was a space for laughing, snacking, and giving kids room to run around, and in a world where poverty and surging industrialization often cut childhood short, simply be kids. Well, now I feel like an asshole.
No, you shouldn't feel like an asshole. I think so. I'm on the fence on this article.
Right.
There are some places that I like to go, and if they open it up for children, I probably wouldn't go.
Well, but if you think about the fact that beer is a lower alcohol ABV than wine, just inherently, an IPA is 5%.
Yeah,
just a run of the mill. Yeah. IPA, not a double, not a triple, not
like
a
fancy,
Budweiser
is what, 3?
You know, it's practically the water you wash the kegs out with.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, and if it's somewhere in California, your Zinfandel is going to be upwards of 15-16%.
Yeah. The opposite side of this is there are tap rooms here in Seattle that I go to that cater to children. There's like a children's play area, and they have cream soda on tap. They have root beer on tap. Yeah. They have like kids friendly on tap type things that aren't just like Coke or Pepsi or whatever. So, you know, if they serve sandwiches or something kid friendly like macaroni and cheese or, you know,
right?
Like
who doesn't like a grilled cheese and a cream soda or a root beer?
Or a hot dog or what have you.
I would eat a hot dog right now so bad. Just continue.
I can see how, of course, if you already have a tap room, you're going to double your clientele.
Well, and they go on to talk about this place, Hopworks Urban Brewery in Portland, that has an entire kid-friendly upstairs.
I've been there, and it is fantastic. If you have friends that have kids and you want to go out drinking with them, you know how hard it is to get a sitter? I didn't realize this, but it's really hard. But if you say, hey, let's go to Hopworks, they can let their kids loose upstairs.
Yeah.
And you can sit and have an adult conversation with your friend.
And they have an area that is just a bar.
Yeah.
It's a child-free area, which...
on one side. And then they have like the family area, and then they have the play area. Yeah.
I dig that. I like that concept. Having worked in tasting rooms where I do not appreciate parents... Where I worked was not geared towards having children. Sharp edges.
Right.
Glass. Yeah. No toys. Art...
I think Hopworks does it right. And congrats to them. They're like on the forefront of doing this in Portland. Have you been there?
No, but I've had their beer.
Their beer is great.
It's delicious.
It's fine.
I just think that, or so for example, like one of the places that we go pretty often has a lot of things sticking out from the wall.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not a child-friendly environment. No. And I see people with children who they just ignore them and they run amok. It's concrete. It's sharp corners. It's metal. It's an glass, industrial area. It's you know, so I feel like...
if you bring your kids to a wine tasting room... okay.
Right. So do you see you have a designated area that's child-friendly? Yeah. Perfect.
But if you're a bad parent...
I am not here to... try to keep your children from poking an eye out.
Right.
I'm here to have an experience for me and my husband, or me and my friends, or
whatever it is.
What the fuck ever. It doesn't matter.
And I'm not against people bringing children to a tasting room. What I'm against is free range children. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like if you know you're wine tasting and you're going with somebody that's a designated driver and you have to bring your kid, bring them something to do. Bring them a book, bring them some crayons.
Right, or call ahead and ask, like, is your space child-friendly? Do I need to worry about XYZ thing?
Right.
You know, like, I feel like those are appropriate questions to ask.
Those are totally appropriate.
Because legally you can take children into tasting rooms.
You can.
Based on the type of license that they have, which is fine. It's totally fine, but don't always expect there to be a provided venue that's going to entertain your kids.
Yes.
Is all I'm saying.
Right.
And there are times, I'll be super honest, when I walk into those spaces and I see people with children, we turn around and we leave.
Just like running amok?
I want nothing to do with it. I don't know.
It's not Chuck E. Cheese. That's what you're saying.
It's
a
not.
tap room.
And I feel like breweries operate under a little bit different expectation in terms of what they provide to the community than winery tasting rooms do.
That's true. That is a big difference.
But they do bring up winery tasting rooms in this article, and so I think it's an interesting article to read. We'll post it on the Facebook. I'd be really interested to hear people's thoughts. I just don't want people to think that I am a monster and hate children.
No, you're just an old man.
You're not wrong. One of my best friends used to always say things like, "Why aren't you wearing purple? You're such a cranky old lady." Like the poem,
really?
"When I'm an old woman, I'll wear purple."
Yeah. Well,
like, why aren't you wearing purple? You're a cranky old lady. Like, I know. I'm aware.
I think you have an absolute point, and if you have kids, it's hard. I get it. It's hard. You're up to your eyebrows, and you just want to go have a drink with your friends. Yeah. And you can't get a sitter. Like, I get it, right?
Yeah.
Just choose places that are friendly to kids.
Well, and they talk about tap rooms being more sparsely decorated, so there are a lot less things for your kid to break. Like,
yeah. Well, it's an industrial. I mean, concrete floors and glass and metal and
they then go on to say that's not saying that you should be able to let your kid run the Indy 500 laps around the space,
right?
Because it also has to do with tables. It has to do with a lot of things. And so they do say, I'm trying to imagine a winery where they've got food carts and a playground for kids. And this person says that to distinguish between brewery tap rooms and how boozy one can be.
Yeah,
it's just naturally a higher alcohol volume beverage.
What, 9 to 14 ish?
And here they do say that beer is more casual and we eat pizza and burgers. Okay.
But you can have wine with pizza and burgers. And
absolutely.
It's delicious.
And so I don't know. It just was one of those things that I thought was interesting.
I'm interested to hear what people think.
I originally was kind of upset with the article, and then I was like, okay. I see your point, and that does make a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't love drinking around children because I'm really worried that something's going to happen and I'm not going to be fully functional to deal with whatever's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. I get it.
I don't know. Anyway.
Check mark. Kids in a tap room.
I don't love them, but I'll tolerate them if they have things to do. I mean, can I teach your kid cribbage? I will totally teach your child cribbage.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, if I can teach your kid cards,
I think that
bring them.
That's the only acceptable
I'll get a glass of rosé. Can I teach your kid how to play 21?
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be amazing?
What the fuck are you doing splitting those 10s? Stop that. That's not what we do. No. Why are you taking it? Why are you hitting right now? Why are you hitting right now? What does the dealer have showing? Yep. Skills to know.
Yeah. Well, it's math. Math is a life skill. You need to know it.
It is the language of the universe.
You know what else is the language of the universe? Wine. Cheers.
I'll drink to that. All right. Is there any more housekeeping before we dive into our Kiwi friends?
There is, but we can put it off until next week. It's not urgent. It's just a conversation. Well, I think we've covered conversation of kids in a tap room.
Sorry, it just was a thing that I really wanted to sort of.
We wanted to
speak
air
on
grievances.
Yeah, it's a conversation I think is interesting to start because I feel like folks our age do have kids that are 5 and younger,
or up to 15.
And it depends. I mean,
or 12,
I'm 35, so I guess I'm basing everybody. I think everybody else is 35. Just in terms of like. A lot of my friends have kids and I love them dearly and I don't want anyone to think that I don't love your children. However, at this point in my life, I don't want kids and I am very selfish with my time, which is why I don't want kids.
And you as a wine professional, you spend a lot of time in tasting rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the pitch. It's the noise. it's a lot of things. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
I had super cute hair today, and then it fell because it's hot as fuck in here.
It's so hot.
Seattle's warm, y'all. Global warming is a thing.
when I moved here, everybody says that. When I moved here, we didn't have a week long of 90-degree days.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Absolutely not. This was not a thing.
Mm-mm.
There's a reason why nobody has air conditioning, because we don't get
I just
hot
saw
weather.
a thing that came out about how like we're like the least air conditioned city in the country.
Yeah.
Because we never needed it.
Well, not true going forward now. I
Well,
mean, the last
we bought an
3
air conditioner.
We did too.
I hate it.
I hate it.
But it's necessary.
I hate it.
Her poor little wine dog, Douglas.
Douglas the wine dog.
He needs a haircut.
He'd be cooler. The kittens got their little summer cut. They look like little baby giraffes.
I wish the kittens and Douglas were friends so we could take pictures with them. We could start a little trio Instagram.
Yeah. Well, maybe. My kittens. They're little scaredy cats. Silly.
Starsky, Hutch, and Douglas.
Starsky, Hutch, and Douglas.
SHG. Wait. Yeah. SHG.
Yeah.
GHS?
Whatever you want.
I don't know.
D.
Anyway. Wait.
D.
Shit. I'd like to buy a vowel. Can I get a consonant?
Okay. Let's talk about New Zealand wine. We have a Sauvignon Blanc. That was actually very delicious. I am very impressed.
Yeah. So Sauv Blanc in New Zealand is actually kind of interesting. It's
you got the 101. Did we already do the 101? The quick 101 on New Zealand wine?
On New Zealand wine for Sauvignon Blanc? Well, okay, so let's do a quick Sauv Blanc 101.
Okay, quick Sauv Blanc 101.
Greenskin grape variety from Bordeaux in France. It is most likely, this is the thing I didn't know, gets its name from sauvage, meaning wild, and blanc, meaning white. So it was a wild growing thing for a long time. Right? Entomology, history of words. It's real fascinating. And depending on the climate, the flavor can range from aggressively grassy to sweetly tropical. In cooler climates, the grape has a tendency to produce wine that is with notable acidity and quote-unquote green flavors, grass, green bell pepper, and nettles, with some tropical fruit like passion fruit, and floral such as elderflower notes. In warmer climates, it can develop a more tropical fruit note, but risk losing a lot of the aromatics due to overripeness, leaving only a little bit of like that grapefruit, tree fruit, peach, stone fruit situation. So.
And ammonia.
You and your ammonia.
So.
Along with Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc was one of the first planted wines to be bottled with a screw cap in commercial quantities, especially by New Zealand producers. Which I think we talked about when we talked about screw caps versus corks a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, like a year ago.
You know, they were sort of the forefront of, I think it was Kim Crawford actually. It was one of the first folks to really start doing screw caps. The wine is usually consumed young, as it does not particularly benefit from aging, as varietal Sauvignon Blancs tend to develop vegetal aromas reminiscent of peas and asparagus if they are aged too long.
Yeah, it's got that weird, like, overcooked green
Well, I mean, asparagus
vegetable.
is the devil's vegetable, so that's
there
just
you go.
where it ends for me. The first Friday in May is International Sauvignon Blanc Day.
Really?
Yeah.
We missed it.
I didn't know, but we'll just have to celebrate next year. Well, probably because you hate Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, probably like, oh, that's that day? No, thank you.
I'm sick that day. I'm staying home.
We're not going to record that.
My people don't celebrate Sauvignon Blanc Day.
I just spilled wine all over the table. This is the second time in the last hour.
Oh, God bless you. It's because it's so fucking hot in Seattle right now.
God, I can't even think.
So in the 90s, Sauvignon Blanc wine from the maritime climate regions in New Zealand, particularly the Southern Island, which we'll get into in a second, where Marlborough comes from. You have a lot of sandy soils with slate shingles. These areas become the most desirable locations for plantings because you have a lot of really good drainage, poor fertility that encourages the vine to concentrate flavors in lower yields. So it doesn't do awesome, but it doesn't do totally terrible. Right? It's just enough to kind of like, I don't want to say prunes itself, but prunes itself.
Kind of prunes itself.
You know.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you. Self-pruning.
I just tried to zhuzh my hair there, but I realized I had headphones on, and it was not a good look. So you have these concentrated flavors because of poor yields. You have a floodplain with the Wairau River Valley. The soil ends up going in east-west bands across the area. So what ends up happening is this creates a really big diversity of flavors for vineyards that are planted north-south, with the heavier soils producing more of the herbaceous notes from grapes that end up having a later ripening time than plants that are on more stony soil that ripen earlier and have a more lush tropical flavor. So you're essentially crisscrossing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you've got stuff that's running one way, and then you have plantings going
the perpendicular,
not parallel, perpendicular.
Like stalactite hangs from the ceiling and stalagmite grows from the ground.
The mite is mighty. I don't know.
Yeah. And the tite is
tidy. I wear boxer briefs. I don't know. Yeah. Tidy whities. Not my game.
And longitude is laying down, right?
No, that's latitude. Because latitude it's like a ladder.
Down. Yeah. And
latitude,
then longitude
is long.
Going long.
Yeah.
Like a skinny
goes
person.
Long ways. Or a tall person. They don't have to be skinny.
A lanky green bean.
Well, it's not me. I'm a short apricot.
A hobbit, just like from New Zealand.
You're not wrong.
The cutest hobbit.
Hey, thanks. So with this being sort of the case, the difference in soils and the types of harvest time decisions that wine producers end up having to make really make New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc super unique. You know, you just have totally different growing conditions than anywhere else in the world. Yeah. You know, fascinating.
Well, I mean, where else does Sauvignon Blanc grow besides pretty much, I mean, everywhere, but it's not known everywhere, right? They do grow it in Bordeaux. They blend it with Semillon. They do a white Bordeaux with Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. Right?
Yeah, and it's grown in California. It's grown in Washington. It's grown in the Loire.
Yeah, but it's famous because of New Zealand as a grape.
I would say the first thing I think about when I think about New Zealand is Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And we'll get into that in a minute. Or 2 minutes. Maybe 7. We don't know.
The other thing I think of is Pinot Noir.
Oh, well, I brought one of those. As did you.
From New Zealand. They make great Pinot Noir. The climate is perfect for it.
Yeah, it's cool. Mm-hmm. You get good winds coming in off the ocean.
Yep. Nice little breeze.
Pardon me. The soils are awesome. Mm-hmm. So the long, narrow geography of the southern island. So New Zealand is in 2 islands for people who are unaware. The southern island ensures that there are no vineyards that are more than 80 miles from the coast.
Wow, really?
Oh, 130 kilometers for people who don't live in the United States or the UK.
80 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, 130 kilometers. From the coast, which is super cool because you have that cool maritime climate that gets these long, gorgeous growing seasons where things really have the ability to take their time and come to ripeness. You get these richer acids and sugars that develop, and you get a lot more flavor intensity that distinguishes New Zealand Sauv Blanc from anywhere else. So you've got the Waipara in the southern island and Gisborne and Hawke's Bay in the North Island that have been recently attracting attention for their Sauvignon Blanc releases because they tend to have they're totally different than Marlborough, where this is coming from.
Yeah.
That right there.
Yep. All of this comes from Marlborough.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think Sauv Blanc in New Zealand is pretty fascinating. That's what I have to say. And apparently you like it. Ha!
Yeah, this isn't so bad. You know what I'm talking about, though, when it gets a little bit of that, like...
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I like Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire, and I like Sauvignon Blanc from Bordeaux, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things I like about Sauv Blanc is when it's cooler, it has a totally different flavor profile than when it warms up a little bit. Like now you get a little bit more of that like pink grapefruit.
Oh, as the wine's warmed up a little bit.
You want to try it again?
No,
I'm okay. That one?
I'm good. Thank you. It was delicious and it's gone.
But
I'm okay.
I know.
Maybe with dinner.
I know. Okay, well, let's talk about Pinot for a minute.
Okay.
So everybody knows that Pinot is amazing. Burgundy, Oregon, and New Zealand. They do it well there. So Pinot Noir is a French grape varietal that essentially is derived from the French words for pine and black. The pine word alludes to the grape having really tight clusters like a pine cone, and obviously because it's a darker skin. Grown around the world. However,
Austria is doing some great.
Yeah, there's some cool Pinots coming out of Austria.
That's amazing. Like, I tasted one and I was blown away. I'm like,
can we go there?
Yeah.
I want to go to Vienna real bad.
Sure, let's do it.
Listen to music and all
Done.
the gorgeous architecture and eat cream puffs.
Done.
Cream puffs.
And you know what's real close to Austria?
Italy?
Germany.
Oh.
Germany. Germany.
It's like we waved at the Austrian Alps when we were swimming in a lake once.
Yeah. Well, we can go to Italy too, because Italy's always a good idea. Hi listeners in Italy.
So Pinot is New Zealand's largest red wine varietal and the second largest varietal overall behind Sauvignon Blanc. In 2014, Pinot Noir vines covered 5,569 hectares, which translates to 13,700 acres.
Wow, that's
and
a lot.
Produced 36,500 tons of grapes.
And New Zealand is not that big. No, it's not that big.
And if you think about the fact that the southern island at no point is any vineyard more than 80 miles from the coast.
Yeah.
That's not a long side to side.
Skinny.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, ugh, that's a lot. Or not a lot, depending. Pinot Noir is a grape variety whose quote-unquote importance in New Zealand is very, very high. However, initial results were not promising for several reasons, including high levels of leaf roll virus in older plantings and during the 60s and 70s, a limited number and indifferent quality of Pinot Noir clones available for planting. So they kind of had to run the gamut of like, well, this Dijon clone 776
doesn't work.
Let's try 777 or let's whatever the other famous
all the clones
are, you know,
666. People
are into.
No, that's not one.
I didn't think that was one.
It's the mark of the beast.
Since the fact that the high quality clones and much improved viticulture have happened, winemaking has seen Pinot Noir from Martinborough in the north to the central Otago in the south have won tons of accolades and awards. Like Pinots out of New Zealand are like kicking ass and taking names.
It's delicious. Did you taste these? These are amazing.
I'm waiting to have yours.
Oh.
Because I want to cheers. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, this is totally where my heart lives.
Right?
That's fucking delicious. That is so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's like all the earth I like from Burgundy and all the fruit I like from Oregon.
Yeah. And
together in the same glass.
And
the acid is nice. Twist off. Who knew? And
it doesn't, like, there's definitely oak on it. You can taste it, but it's not nice.
It's like the fourth flavor I taste.
It's soft.
You know?
The tannins are very soft, and I wish we were having lamb. I mean, New Zealand is known for lamb, so obviously if you have a New Zealand Pinot Noir, you eat that with lamb.
I'm going to guess it's like 14% alcohol.
Oh, let me look.
It smells a little boozy.
Nope, 13.5.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, huh? Oh, I was going to tell you. I got my eyes checked. Remember, I was always like, I can't see. I don't know.
Welcome to every day of my life.
They said my eyes are better than better.
So they're fixing themselves.
Yeah, my eyes are better now than they were 20 years ago.
So you've just been using glasses that you didn't need anymore.
Apparently. It's like, I can't see that. Where's my glasses? Well, nobody can see it. Your print is too fucking small. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we need to get you the seniors menu?
No. Big print. It
was
eyes
a joke.
are better.
It was a bad joke.
I couldn't believe it.
I wish my eyes could get better. My eyes are terrible.
Yeah, they're fixing themselves. I wanted to share that with you. I was like, how is this possible?
That's a cheers-worthy moment.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go get my hearing checked.
Well, that's the thing I need to do. So, as the industry matures, a lot of the top producers have made decisions to no longer submit their wines to reviews or shows.
Interesting. Why? Just cause?
Just cause. I think it's one of those, like, I think we've like had our heyday and now we just kind of like focus on doing good shit, which I totally respect.
Yeah, because they're the youngest, not just geologically, youngest continent, country, youngest wine region.
Well, the Maori people have been there for, a long time.
Yeah, but the island came up after the mainlands.
Oh, yeah,
right,
yeah.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then the wine... Geologically, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very young.
In terms of...
the earth.
Hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah. And then as a wine region, it's also very new.
Oh, that tends to roll into the next thing I want to talk about.
Funny how that works.
So grapevines, early colonist gardens, very, very normal to see. A lot of people are growing their own stuff. They're making their own wine at home. It's what they did back home. It's what, it's what happened. However, there was a treaty that was signed in 1840, and the first recorded New Zealand was already bottled.
Wow, really? In 1840?
In 1840. So wine has been, in fact, a long, torturous, and fascinating history in New Zealand. So there was a missionary. He was Anglican. His name was Samuel Marsden, and he made the first recorded planting of grapevines in the Bay of Islands in 1819. The earliest recorded winemaker was Scotsman James Busby. James. I can't do a Scottish accent. Oh yeah, James Busby. I don't know. That was terrible. So he was appointed the first British resident in New Zealand, and while you had a French explorer, Dumont d'Urville, who visited Busby at Waitangi in 1840. He was given a quote-unquote light white wine, very sparkling and delicious to taste. French priests and peasants, pastoralists in Hawke's Bay, Croatian gum diggers, and others preserved the flame that was ignited by Busby in the 19th century. So a lot of people sort of started this whole concept of we can make wine here.
In New Zealand.
In New Zealand.
In the 1840s? 30s? 20s?
Well, the treaty was signed in 1840 when he was given this light white wine. So mid-19th century.
Wow.
But you had powdery mildew, which is odium that we talked about last week for a second. And then also phylloxera, that prohibitionist zealots, like we had here
in the States,
together ensured that the early dreams of a flourishing wine industry faded. Now, so they tried, it didn't work. In the 1920s and 30s, you had sort of a really non-spectacular growth in the wine industry. It was booming during the Second World War when duties were raised on imported wines. We don't want to pay those tariffs. We're going to grow our own shit.
Yeah.
We don't have to import it from somewhere else.
Yeah, fuck all y'all.
Fuck all y'all.
We're on an island, bitch.
It's a lot of middle fingers around the globe. And we can only do so much. 80 miles from here to there.
Right. And they're out in the middle of the ocean and they're on an island.
Right.
So, of course.
Right. Well,
go away.
Expansion started to happen thanks to duties raised on imported wines. And during the 50s and 60s, there was a lot of legislative situations by successive governments that happened to include major reductions in the minimum amounts of wine that could be sold in the market. So they're starting to cap what you can and can't sell.
So they could be overproducing and then and then what?
So approval for more retail outlets and licensing of restaurants to sell wine happened around 1960. You had this outstanding feature in the 60s and 70s. You had a lot of overseas investment. You had a lot of
in
people
the 60s and 70s into New Zealand.
Australian and American. In the 70s, you had the quality in the wine industry there you started to see an uptick. There was a big emphasis on the production of light, fruity, almost sweet white wines.
Oh, like Lambrusco, but white.
Like Müller-Thurgau
was
a big thing that was being planted there.
Right.
I mean, it grows fucking everywhere.
That's like a weed.
But it's delicious.
It's a delicious weed.
It's a delicious weed. Not
Wait.
unlike. There's a secret episode if you're a Patreon member that has to do with us pairing joints and juice.
Yeah.
But you can only listen to it if you're a Patreon member.
Yeah,
and
you gotta sign up.
We'll never do it again.
We'll never do it again.
That was a terrible day. I was useless for hours. My poor husband. So in more recent decades, you had a lot of New Zealand wine drinkers that developed a taste for a lot drier style in wine, like Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir, which now totally dominate the industries
in New Zealand. Yeah.
What they're doing.
Yep.
Wine really played a key role in the emergence of sort of this concept of a cafe culture. New Zealand wineries really set out to just serve the domestic market. They weren't anticipating this huge international situation. But in
Dun,
1985,
dun, dun.
the government moved the speed up on the removal of barriers against overseas wines, allowing Australian wineries to contest the New Zealand market on equal footing by 1990. So because of this huge loss in the domestic market, winemakers started this whole like sustained export situation, and the value of New Zealand wines exports has skyrocketed from the New Zealand dollar at 18 million in 1990 to a forecasted $2 billion by 2020.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Because they were like, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to do it well.
Maybe. I mean,
you know, and they did. Kim Crawford was a huge part of that.
Huge. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kim Crawford. Absolutely.
So new wineries are mushrooming from Northland to the central Otago. 30 years ago, there were fewer than 100 New Zealand wineries. Today, there are 670.
In New Zealand. Holy shit. That's a ton.
I mean, you don't think of as being a lot because we have more wineries in Washington, but...
Not by much, though, right?
Given a couple hundred, I want to say.
Right, not by much.
Not by much. But given like the governmental barriers that have been put in place for such a long time, right? So here's where it also comes full circle that I think is important to talk about today with farmers in the United States with tariffs and trade barriers and all these things.
Taxes and all the,
we're not just making wine for our market. We're making wine for a global market.
Yeah.
You know, like
globalization of a business is, you know, in the last 10 years, that's, if you want to survive, that's what you have to do. And now that might not be the case.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting to look at the New Zealand market because it's so small.
Yeah,
in terms of timeline.
Nice little slice that you can take a look at and really look into.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I just thought this was a really fascinating, interesting article just in terms of governmental trade.
Right.
And Australia showing up and being like, we're going to be better than you are.
Yeah. And they're on an island. So they're physically separated.
Well, they're two islands.
Well, two islands, but they're
I mean, there's more than two, but
physically separated from. It's not like France, right, where you're sharing borders with multiple countries. There's an ocean between you and the next country.
Yeah.
So trade is really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's just, I don't know. I thought it was interesting to look at not really knowing a lot about the New Zealand history in terms of wine and like, oh, we finally figured out that here are these couple things that we do really well and we're just going to do them well. We're not going to plant fucking everything from here to kingdom come.
No, just do the things that you do.
Spend time testing and planting and waiting and testing and planting and waiting because who has time for that? I certainly don't.
Apparently these winemakers don't either.
I mean, good for them.
Yeah. Capitalize on your market.
I mean, still try and do some things because, you know, it's the age of exploration in terms of dirt and science and the constant changing of the planet. But I don't know. They did good stuff. I dig it.
Yeah. New Zealand, you get an A+ for effort and for wine.
That's like 2 A's, more than I ever got on a report card. That's not true.
That's not true. Do you have any fun facts?
I do, actually. So we're in the South Pacific.
Yep.
These are the southernmost vineyards in the world. There are 1,000 miles between the east of Australia and New Zealand.
1,000 miles?
There are 1,000 miles. However,
that's like a 3-hour plane ride?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's about 1,000. I
can hop on kayak and find out for you.
No, it's okay. I think it's like a 3-hour-ish plane ride, yeah.
Britain actually jump-started the New Zealand wine industry-ish. So in 1973, Britain joined the European Economic Community, and their dependency on meat and dairy products from the two islands ended. So New Zealand sought to restructure the agricultural industry and actually shifted its focus from raising livestock to growing grapes.
Really? In the 70s?
You know those Brits love their wine.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bordeaux later.
Sure.
Let's talk about Claret later.
Let me put it on the list.
Marlborough, which is where all of our wines come from, is the largest wine producing region. This is where you see a lot of Sauvignon Blanc. Hawke's Bay produces Bordeaux-style blends and is rapidly developing a reputation for quality Syrah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think I've ever seen a Syrah from New Zealand.
I'm going to have to take a look around because
Let's talk to our friends at Valley Wine Merchants.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Andrew.
Andrew, do you have Syrah from New Zealand because we're interested?
Yeah.
We're
I'm
intrigued. We have questions.
He knows so much.
Can you hook us up?
Hi, Andrew.
Hook some geeks up with some New Zealand flavored Syrah.
New Zealand Syrah.
Also Chardonnay and Viognier
Okay,
are being
I can see
planted down
that.
there. In Gisborne, which is north of Hawke's Bay, you see a lot of Chardonnay and Gewurz.
Mm-hmm.
Wine production has totally dominated those three regions, with 58.1% coming out of Marlborough. Hawke's Bay takes it 20.2%, and Gisborne, I'm going to say Gisborne.
How do you spell it?
Gisborne.
Borne.
But if you look at like,
one.
I don't know, I suppose Brisbane in Australia is pronounced Brisbane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Language is funny.
I live in Seattle. We say weird things here. 2/3 of all wine produced in New Zealand is white, which I can see. It's cooler climate.
Yeah.
It
Sauvignon
makes
Blanc.
sense that Pinot is the thing that gets grown there.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how Syrah does with how cold it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that there's places in New Zealand that are a little more warm.
Because if you're getting those currents, those cooler currents from Antarctica that are going up to Chile and like the west side of South America, you have to imagine that it's also cooler coming around New Zealand, right?
Yeah, the east side of that. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
If you're from New Zealand and you're listening to this podcast, please educate us on what's happening down there, because
And we want to come visit.
I do want to come visit. I'm very, very curious. And that's, one of the things about the podcast is we haven't been all these places. We're just going off what we can find, right? Like on the internet.
And today my research was quick and dirty. I had shit go down at work today that took up more time than I really wish it would have.
Yeah, it's okay though.
Here's a fun weird thing.
Yeah.
Chardonnay was actually the most widely planted grape until Sauvignon Blanc surpassed it in 2002.
Really? I don't know if I've ever had a Chardonnay from New Zealand.
I have.
And?
No, it was sparkling. Was it Chardonnay? I know it was sparkling.
Now here I'm curious again.
I've had a sparkling from New Zealand. I don't remember if it was Chardonnay or not.
How was the
I
sparkling?
want to say it was.
Was it good?
It was okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was like $12.
Yeah.
Approachable but not austere.
Nice word.
She's like the girl you want to meet when you walk into the party, who kind of can introduce you to folks but doesn't want to like drag you down all night long.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
I
Here's
love that.
like 3 people that you're going to get along with. Bye. See you later.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect.
I like that. It's a good analogy. Tuck it in my pocket for later. Chardonnay was actually, we talked about that. Riesling is planted and used to make dry but botrycized dessert wines as well. I bet those are delicious.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Their climate seems to be.
Well, if you also think about like the cooler, wetter areas of like the South Bordeaux region, Graves, Entre-deux-Mers, I feel like that would probably be a good
We're going to have to look into
deliciousness.
that.
Yeah, I like it. We have homework. Müller-Thurgau is a fairly popularly planted grape and is used to produce a lot of really inexpensive wines. Pinot Gris is increasingly becoming an important grape made in an Alsatian style.
Delicious.
Give me that Alsatian Pinot Gris. Some of the better samples see barrel aging and time on the lees, which I bet is delicious. Lees, everybody remember, is the spent yeast cells that they end up stirring in the wine to kind of give it a creamier mouthfeel without oak aging.
Little dead yeast cells.
Dead baby yeast cells, R.I.P. For red grapes, you see a lot of Cab being planted in the warmer microclimates and blended with Merlot for Bordeaux-style blends. Pinot is obviously the country's flagship and is also used for sparkling wine.
I think I've had a sparkling from New Zealand that was Pinot.
Red or off the skins?
Off the skins.
That's probably delicious.
Yeah.
Blanc de Noir, we'd call that.
From New Zealand.
Due to its location, here's the fun thing that I'm going to blow your mind.
Tell me.
With New Zealand vineyards are the first on the planet to see the sun every day.
Wow, really?
Based on where the prime meridian is. Or is it the international date line?
International date line.
Yeah.
Because you change dates as you go.
Right. Yeah. So they're the first grapes to ever see the sun every day.
Huh.
Yeah.
Hello, New Zealand.
Fascinating, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, of course, because the earth is round. #science.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's awesome.
So our stuff coming from Marlborough, that's Martinborough, is the largest wine district in terms of production and area under vine. In 2016, Marlborough produced 232,000 tons.
Wow.
From 365,000 hectares, which is 60,000 acres.
60,000 acres.
Of predominantly Sauvignon Blanc vines, representing just over 3/4 of New Zealand's entire wine production. Bam.
From Marlborough.
From Marlborough.
That's amazing.
That's where it's at.
Wow.
That's where it's at.
That's where my mouth is at today.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty, eh? These Sauvignon Blancs, good, but I am in love with these Pinots.
These Pinots are amazing. Yeah, they're really good. And I'm highly critical of a Pinot.
Well, as well you should be. You grew up in, like, Pinot Disneyland.
Yeah, Pinot Disneyland.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, Pinot Disneyland is exactly right.
I'm aware.
Yeah, it's delicious. I wish we had lamb for dinner, but sadly, we do not.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
lamb is delicious.
That's what I've got. That's what I have for you. Got some whites, got some reds, got some deliciousness.
All from the Kiwi land.
All from New Zealand. It's good stuff. I highly recommend. It's easy to find some good Sauv Blancs.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely go into a bottle shop or somewhere that has a little bit more access to things that aren't mass produced or distributed, like Kim Crawford, which is still good, but
it's like the Anheuser-Busch of Sauvignon Blanc.
There's
New Zealand,
so many fun little pockets to explore in
Mine
New
was
Zealand.
Jules Taylor. I think mine was $15, $16 maybe.
This Pinot was 16, and this Sauv Blanc I think was 12. And they're both delicious. Dashwood.
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Well, thanks for listening this week.
Yeah. Everybody's amazing. Let us know what you think about the whole winery situation.
Yeah.
Brew pub situation.
Shoot us a note. You want to have a podcast party and you want to know what's coming on Wednesday and you're hosting some friends, we'll let you know. You have to reach out. casualwinegeeks.com.
Yeah. Info at.
Yeah. There's a little contact page on our website. Patreon is on our website. And we're here drinking every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Happy Casual Wine Geek Wednesday. Fuck, I had it was so close.
Well, it's later in the evening than normal.
Happy Casual Wine Geek Wednesday.
And always take 2 bottles.
Bye.
Ciao.